in a nutshell, high-strength low-alloy steel is not something new. It may be new to some folks in the industry simply because they have not been exposed to this type of steel. However, those in the cable tool industry, of those who recall that industry and were using a product called hard red, or actually using what we currently know, at least in its chemistry and physical strengths, very close to what today's high-strength low-alloy actually is. So back when Roscoe Moss Company was a well drilling company, back in its early formations at the turn of the century, they used a lot of material called hard red. These were purchased in sheets and then rolled to a particular diameter and then were riveted along the seam. Later, we developed a welding process that would make that straight seam process. But those wells constructed of that material called hard red, we have evidence, particularly in the Phoenix area, where we have a well that's 100 years old. It was still in operation by the Salt River Project. The well was replaced only because there was a widening of the road, and they found and they had to move the well and replace it. And then we had the records for that, and we could say, actually, this well is 100 years old. So we know the longevity of this type of steel. Now, what is it? And why is it called high-strength low-alloy? It's named appropriately for the two types of attributes it has. The high strength means it has a high yield strength. For example, a low carbon steel or mild steel will have a yield strength of 35, 40,000. Stainless steel will have a 35 to 40,000 yield. High strength low alloy steels can be 50,000 at a minimum up to over 65,000 yield. So therefore, that's the high strength aspect comes in. The low alloy refers to the inclusion of higher copper content along with nickel and chromium to give it more corrosion resistance. Not as much as a true stainless, mind you, but those elements are there in certain concentrations that give it a higher corrosion resistant property. So the high strength combined with the low alloy makes this a very strong corrosion resistant steel and has a nice fit in your steel selection category of being better than mild steel but less than a stainless. And for many people who are concerned about the economics, which a lot of people are, this is a steel that fits a budget that, well, we can't afford stainless, but our expectations are we want something better than mild steel. It fits that price point. So again, it started off in the cable industry. They didn't call it high strength low alloy. It had another name for it, just called hard red. But what's developed now to where we are is a family of steels called high strength low alloy. Our company has decided to, we use high strength low alloy under ASTM 606 type 4. So much like you have different stainless steels that are called stainless in different grades, we use the type 4 606, which is the most corrosion resistant of the family of steels under high strength low alloy. And it does have a higher corrosion index that's required. So we provide that in casing, blank casing. We provide it in a louvered screen option, and we now make it for pump column. Particularly for those who want an alternative to epoxy-coated pipe when NSF requirements are needed. Many times you'll use a carbon steel pipe, and then because that under current standards, it's not NSF 61 approved, you'll add an NS 61 coating on it. So you spray or you add that coating, add the lining, and now you've complied with that requirement. Ours right now is NSF 6061 approved in its bare metal form. The advantages for the contractor is now you can put that chain wrench on there and you can tighten it down, you can take it off, and if it gets scratched, no harm, no foul. It's still compliant. You scratch that coating for an epoxy coated pipe, and now repairs have to be made, and there can be deleterious results if it's not done properly. You have accelerated corrosion at those points of exposure. And as a lot of the contractors know who deal with pumps of that, you're not coating the threads. So most of the times the threads are in much, much worse condition than the body of the pump column itself. Ours, you get the HSLA threaded in and you get the column. So it's all the same steel, all much more corrosion resistant compared to a low carbon steel.